It's strange what a microphone can do. It can make a room bigger or much, much smaller. On that cool June afternoon in Los Angeles, as I stood behind the gleaming podium in Lincoln High's sunlit gym, about to deliver my graduation speech, the microphone shrank the world to just me, a sheet of trembling paper and 1,000 eyes. Miss Portillo had introduced me with her fluttery hands, class valedictorian Daniel Crespo. All that week my mother had pressed my wrinkled shirt, my uncle had nodded silently, only muttering, "No pressure." My little sister, Sophia, perched in the crowded front row, swinging her legs and grinning with her teeth too big for her face. But as I straightened my shoulders and pushed my glasses up, the speculative murmur started, muffled whispers, laughter biting in the back. Some of it came from my family's row, barely hushed, that mocking laugh only relatives can produce. I took a breath and, trying to smile, unfurled my speech. "I want to build things that last," I began, voice cracking as it scratched along the gym's cheap speakers. "I want to be an architect." I could barely get the word out before the giggling and groans surged, first from the football section, then my Aunt Rosa, louder than the rest, barked, "Mijo, you're not white," and then Uncle Pepe, arms folded, stage whispered, "Isn't that math, not art? Do we need more math kids in LA?" I stared at the sweating paper, feeling every syllable I'd written dissolve under their laughter. Was I supposed to make a joke, power through, my eyes strung? The principal coughed, stepping forward, her forced smile apologizing without words, and gently edged me from the mic. "Thank you, Daniel," she intoned, brisk and businesslike, as if the mortifying moment had lasted only a second. But shame is sticky like spilled syrup on the skin. That walk off the stage blazed into my bones. I could feel every glance, every smirk, every whisper piling on my back. "Pobrecito, he'll grow out of it. He's smart but not practical. Carpenter maybe, architect." Afterward at the taco truck along Whittier, my family smiled too brightly. My mother's hug felt forced, her voice too careful when she urged, "Don't listen, you're brilliant, Danny, you are, but they don't get it, that's all." My cousin Ernesto, already wrestling with college rejections, smirked without humor. "LA doesn't need more buildings, bro, it needs roofers." But the line between shame and anger is thin. That summer, I stared at sketches late at night, tracing skylines with a shaky pen at the kitchen table. All around me, the city fixed itself in my mind, a million mismatched windows, the curve of the LA River lit by neon and police helicopters, the smell of grilled fruit from street stands. I told myself if my world could take this jumble and call it home, why couldn't I build just one lasting piece? I turned down parties. I skipped piling into crowded apartments with cousins. I worked at my Uncle Raoul's construction site, hauling drywall, breathing in dust, watching how the afternoon shadows slid across rising frames. "Architect, huh?" he'd grunt, passing me another bucket. "At least you'll know how real buildings stand up." Applications were next, rejections thicker than bills. Cal Poly number, UCLA no, USC sent a polite maybe, then a final not this year. Except for East LA Community College, a bare-bones program more hopeful than flashy. At dinner my aunt silently pushed tortillas my way, eyes full of questions. One night Rosa sighed, "Get a trade, Danny, learn plumbing, something steady." But each class at ELACC was a window cracked open. Mrs. King's lectures on gaudy or green and green, the first time I heard the phrase adaptive reuse. My hands shook carrying balsa models onto city buses, breath-fogging cheap plastic display cases. Other students worked 2 jobs, had kids, built their own dreams with tape and faith. When I transferred to Woodbury University, I didn't tell most of my family. Even when I won the city's Tomorrow's LA competition, my design, a library shaped like folded wings made from poured concrete and glass, they laughed. The winner's reception was in a glass-walled downtown room, views stretching over streetlights into haze. My mother came, but my uncle stayed home, muttering, "A library, who builds a library these days?" Afterwards, my little sister squeezed my hand and whispered, "You did good, Daniel, even if they don't say it." I believed her. Some nights that was enough. After graduation, jobs barely trickled in, cheap remodeling, rendering artist for a real estate flipper. Money was tight. Some days I rode my bike past construction sites, neck craned, imagining how it'd feel to be the one whose name was on the plaque. But sometimes success is a crack, not a door. A developer, Mr. Kwon, hired me to consult on a small Koreatown motel renovation. I poured hours into sketches, learning city code, dodging inspectors with a greasy handshake. He called late one Friday, "Daniel, you can do more than floor plans. Next year, big project, mid-city clinic, you lead." Every all-nighter felt justified as I shaped light and shadow along patient rooms. When that building finished, the first time a sunbeam hit the etched glass just right, the waiting room filled with golden warmth and soft color, and nurses said it felt like hope. Word spread in whispers and then in shouts. A downtown arts center followed, then I was commissioned for an elementary school in my old neighborhood. My firm grew breath by breath, me, two friends, Crespo and Tors, renting a storefront near Atlantic Boulevard. 10 years ago, they told me earn a trade, help your family. Now team photos hung beside the city's Best in Design plaque. Sometimes I sat in the empty office at dusk, hands tracing the rough fake brick of our rented wall, heart pounding with disbelief. But I never went back, not really. It's strange, success can bring distance as much as closeness. I sent checks for my mother, helped Sophia through college, always polite at birthdays. My uncles would nod, clapping my back at weddings. Fancy architect man, they joked, can you fix my bathroom too? Until Mira Vista. Mira Vista was a $20 million city-funded project on the east side, a library, art space, community center. I fought for that bid like my soul depended on it, pouring months into models and design pitches, pushing through city bureaucracy. When the call came, you got it, Daniel, I forgot to breathe. The center would open within walking distance of my old apartment. My name was etched in stone, literally. Word got around as it does. Invitations fluttered out for the grand opening, city council, donors, press. And reluctantly, I sent them to my family, afraid still of that old mirth, that disbelief, but unable to stop myself. The morning mist clung to Whittier Boulevard, the city slow to wake. Parking overflowed. A brass band tuned outside, slicing through the breakfast air. I tugged at my tie, feeling the old nerves. My mother bustled around, dabbing at my jacket. Smile, Danny, it's your day. But deep down, I was waiting for the laughter. For someone to snort, who does he think he is? The shame was a scar, not a wound. It prickled under my collar. Then my family came, Uncle Pepe, Aunt Rosa, Cousin Ernesto, all pressed neat and unfamiliar in borrowed Sunday clothes, eyes hungry for proof. I spotted Sophia first, grown up now, elegant, her arm linked with my mother's. Behind them, Pepe shuffled, blinking in disbelief at the long white stone, the sunlit glass, the carved murals along the facade. He didn't speak, but his jaw worked as if trying to chew a thought. The mayor strode up, flashing cameras everywhere. She pinned a blue ribbon to my coat. Mr. Crespo, our city is lucky. Microphones thrust, my face broadcast across local news. But then came the moment, my people versus my building. They toured as a group, through corridors spattered with colored sunlight, under beams of reclaimed oak, past reading nooks where little kids stenciled their dreams in chalk. Children's laughter swirled around books stacked high as their heads. In the art gallery, Ernesto trailed a step behind, fingertips grazing the smooth concrete wall. You designed this, he murmured, as if it were a confession. In every inch, I said quietly. Aunt Rosa scoffed, reflex at first, but her voice stubbornly faltered. It's beautiful, she managed, almost spitefully. Toward the main atrium, a bronze plaque waited. CISBO Community CENTER Architect Daniel Crespo. My name, 4 inches high, bathed in the filtered golden light. My uncle stared at it, lips parting. Pepe shook his head once slowly. That's your name, eyes wider than I ever saw in my childhood, brow wrinkled as he tried to bridge memory and miracle. Yeah, I said, voice small. Mind. Sophia clapped, swallowing tears. My mother pressed her hand over her heart. Even Rosa blinked twice, her throat working hard. City officials bunched for thank yous in front of the TV cameras. Someone called for the architect's family. Would they join for the photo? All my life they'd shrugged off my pride, but now. They surged forward, crowding around me. Uncle Pepe gripped my shoulder strong. You did this, he whispered. They walked with me from room to room, peppering me with real questions. What's that wood? You put those windows there for the trees, right? How'd you make it so quiet inside? I told them about acoustic baffles, radiant floors, details they never imagined I could know. We reached the children's library where sunlight glowed onto rows of eager kids and their parents. A mural of soaring birds, my own design, spanned the curved ceiling. My cousin Ernesto, silent, finally said, I never thought it's more than a building, primo. Outside, speeches gave way to laughter, music, the day becoming a festival. Pep's bombast turned soft. I was wrong, Daniel. I thought dreams were for other people, but look at this. Someone handed me a microphone. I looked at the crowd, neighbors and strangers, my family's faces now shining, astonished. 100 cameras flashed. My hand trembled. I swallowed, remembering that day at Lincoln High a decade ago, the laughter, the fear, but I didn't shrink from the mic this time. I grew up here, I said, voice steady, carried into the sunlight. Some people thought dreams couldn't last, but tonight this building stands for everyone who was told not for you, everyone who's been laughed at for reaching too high. Sometimes that's exactly where you need to reach. When applause rose, it didn't erase the pain or the shame, but it wrapped warmth around the memory, softening it. My family clapped loudest. As dusk settled, the windows blazed with color. Small hands pressed on glass, faces radiant. My little sister hugged me tight as when we were young. Walking home that night, I carried the old wounds, but lighter now. My family for once trailed behind, voices proud. On every corner, the city I loved shimmered, a patchwork of hope, fear, laughter, and possibility. I turned back to glimpse the center glowing under streetlights. My family stood in the doorway, waving, their silhouettes merging with the building I built. Home will always remember your failures, but sometimes, if you're lucky and stubborn, it remembers your victories too.